Okay, so what we'll do is the three of us will cover more details from the morning session. I'm going to talk about renewal of services. Mohit is going to cover sales effectiveness, large deals, large account performance, and Sandeep is going to cover new areas and how we are coping up with it. So just to tee this conversation up, what I'll do is I'll kind of talk about why we are trying to renew services, and I don't want to preach here. All our clients are going through significant transformation, and there's a confluence of market forces, starting from disintermediation to adoption of new business models to actually, in some ways, balancing the digital versus physical, or the duality of digital versus physical. Very low entry barriers, and in some ways, very untraditional competitors. So what they're going through this time is unprecedented. Technology is in the core of this transformation which is happening. And that's one of the reasons why, and that's possibly the main reason why, we are ourselves going through a transformation. We are ourselves going through a renewal of services. In a way, actually Vishal spoke about applying the new and renew framework.
They didn't let me go to the restroom.
Okay. Come back soon. So Vishal spoke about the new and renew framework, which we apply to our clients. We applied it to ourselves. And that's been our basis of the renewal. And we've actually based the renewal of services on three broad principles, or three broad towers, if I may. Starting with renewal of culture, to applying the power of automation and boundaryless thinking. So what are we doing on culture? In fact, many corporations go through transformation where culture comes very backloaded. We actually front-loaded the cultural renewal, and we kind of took it grassroots. And that's been one of our biggest drivers for the renewal of our services, renewal of our employees. In a way, what we have done is we've kind of created an Infosys with a concentration in the nucleus on projects. And we kind of reorganized ourselves to enable projects in the center of everything we do. And the few things which we actually looked at when we're looking at cultural renewal is the mindset of employees. Design thinking, as Vishal spoke about, we almost got 100,000 people enabled on design thinking. The ability to look at problem finding as a mindset in comparison to problem solving. The second important one is about a next generation construct. Over the years, we built layers of leadership between projects. And we kind of delayered those layers in the last few quarters, and we piloted this with 3 units. And the idea is to actually get our projects zero distance to our clients, get a lot of content in our projects, get span out of the picture, and look at specialization as a part of the structure. Zero bench. In fact, the entire industry looks at bench as, in some sense, a necessary evil. We actually looked at it as a captive transient workforce, which we could use for driving value to our project teams. In fact, we have roughly 20,000 odd work packets running. We made them very modular. We kind of created very modular work packets which could be used for value-added services to our service lines. And roughly around 80% of our workforce is actually working on some of it. So we use these prototypes and skunk works for our clients by leveraging the bench. The most important one, and this I believe is the biggest transformational initiative in our cultural change, is zero distance. And why is this so important? And why is this so unique? Most customers, most corporations I have actually seen have looked at innovation from a perspective of either a department of innovation or a pocket of the organization which looks at innovation, or a top-down culture. We kind of thought, to drive scale at a rapid pace, the only way you could build that is through a grassroots innovation. So we took innovation to every project at Infosys. We asked our employees in our projects to look for incremental innovation, look for adjacent areas where we could look for innovation, or look for opportunities to create repeatable assets. These are the three areas we looked at. It was a very simple 5-point template. We didn't want to stifle them with a strong framework. We just gave them a wide frame or a framework which they would actually use to drive innovation. Guess what? We have 11,000 odd templates. 95% of our projects are covered. In fact, the balance 5% is always a work in progress because we keep adding new projects in our kitty. And this has actually led to the kind of grassroots monetization and mining of our projects, and therefore an accelerated path for growth from our existing clients. And this is done in a very self-regulated manner, which our project teams themselves take it up. And let's talk about one or two examples in this, which would give you some kind of a sense of what a zero-distance template looks like. Let me look at the first one, which is Canada Post. Now, Canada Post is one of our clients. We are a partner for them. They have 6,000 plus post offices in Canada. They do delivery of 13 million packets in a day. And they're transforming themselves from a company which actually delivers letters to delivering parcels. So they've started competing with all the courier companies. They didn't give us a spec to be a part of the transformation. They just got us in as a partner to work on systems and a set of projects for them. Our project teams, what they did was they started going through this journey of transformation along with the clients, and some of them actually came back with the idea of optimizing their routes, which their vans in the field actually take up. So they used the asset which we used otherwise for another client, and we kind of created a repeatable asset out of it. It was a supply chain optimization tool. We decontextualized that in context of Canada Post. And our teams actually built a prototype using the zero bench. So I spoke about zero bench. So a lot of the prototypes of zero bench actually come from zero distance. So 30% of our zero distance templates are actually built by zero bench people, which are people who are actually on bench, and they're building these prototypes for innovative work, which could be either incremental or adjacent, or it could create a repeatable asset for us. And guess what? We actually delivered parcels per hour. We improved the percentage by 88%. Now, this by itself is not just about customer satisfaction. We actually won incremental projects based on the work we did. And we actually used a bench to actually build those prototypes. Many such examples. In the retail space, I know a bunch of clients, I know a bunch of employees who are working with our clients on point of sale data and building analytics on top of it. I know another project where for a product launch, our teams actually built analytics on an open source platform. For a bank, for a new account opening, one of our teams actually suggested that the entire photo validation process for credit cards or debit cards could actually be done online, real time, and therefore shrink the process for account planning. So a whole bunch of ideas. And these are almost 11,000 of them. 30 to 35% of them are already being discussed with clients, and 30 to 35% of them are prototypes. So this is a massive disruptive movement, and it's viral in the company. And that's the cultural renewal I'm talking about. The second pillar on which the renewal of our services is built on is the power of automation. Now, this cuts across every service line we do. And somebody in the morning session was talking about, everybody talks about automation, and what's the thing Infosys is unique about in automation. My personal view is everybody looks at automation from a perspective of productivity, from a perspective of looking at it. It's a very myopic view of automation. What we did, we kind of completely transcended the productivity game, and that's what we focused on task automation. We kind of transcended that to process transformation. And that, I believe, is the power of automation. Process transformation, where you could actually change and disrupt business processes in a way that you could either do straight-through processing, you could cut across and unshackle all the bottlenecks in an end-to-end process, or you could actually build very effective digitized business processes which are automated and innovated for the future. That's the automation we are talking about. How did we apply it to ourselves? We looked at all of fixed price projects, and there was a lot of instrumentation which happened in our project teams. Some of it actually from the zero distance initiative as well. In fact, 25% of our zero distance templates are on automation. So we had a lot of instrumentation, a lot of tools built grounds up. And all of them, the endeavor was not just to look at productivity, but look at business process. So we looked at fixed price projects, we applied it to ourselves, and in many ways, we derived value out of it. Almost last year, we announced 3,200 people which we released out of our projects because of automation. Last quarter, we did 2,000. So we just accelerated that process. We increased the universe of automation in many ways. Most people talk about automation from an L1 and an L2 perspective. L1 and L2 is repetitive tasks. We actually expanded that to judgmental tasks. We expanded that to a set of activities which needs the application of the mind. And we expanded that universe. So no longer we're talking about fixed price maintenance projects. We're talking about fixed price maintenance projects, non-maintenance projects, developmental projects expanded. We expanded that universe. Now we are going and looking at time and material projects, which could be converted, and we share the gains with our clients. The one aspect we did in the last 4 quarters is releasing people from offshore. We are now looking at, as a futuristic direction, releasing people from our on-site locations, going up the chain, increasing per capita. That will be the qualitative color of automation which we are going to look for in the future. That's the automation we are looking for. Now, what does this mean? As we went through this journey, we looked at 3 major components. Most people look for automation. Most of our competitors talk about automation from a perspective of AI and machine learning. Our belief is automation is far more holistic. We're looking at AI and machine learning and the entire traditional piece as one pillar. The second pillar is knowledge. How to use knowledge of the past, create ontology of knowledge, and actually derive learning which could actually make the human intervention disconnected. So we kind of looked at that piece as the second pillar. And the third is insights. All 3 in a standalone basis existed for us. We built the instrumentation on it. We integrated them into a platform. The interesting thing about building software and platforms is it kind of teaches you how to make money by shrinking the prices. And therefore, our belief is don't go and oppose commoditization, embrace commoditization by doing this. That's what we kind of told our teams. So this now has turned up to be a massive integrated platform called Mana, which we are not only using it for ourselves, but actually commercializing it. And you're going to hear a lot from Sandeep and Sudhir in the subsequent session, so I don't want to hijack that conversation. And that's the second pillar we're talking about. The third one, which I can speak about, is boundaryless thinking. In the last few quarters, as we started renewing our service lines, we realized that this service lines is our world. Customers don't look at it from a service line perspective. They look at it from a perspective of how you could actually add value. So we kind of blurred the lines of our service lines. And some of the examples here, straight through processing I spoke about. L1, L2, L3 is the world of system integrators like us. From a customer or a consumer of technology, you don't look at L1, L2, L3. You have a problem you need to fix. So we kind of blurred those lines. That's what boundaryless thinking is about. BPO services. Most customers today don't come and say, lift and shift a business process. They come and tell us, can you actually transform a business process? Which really means business process outsourcing is no longer going to be a lift and shift. It's going to be business process management, inclusive of digitizing the process, bringing infrastructure, applications, and process all together in an industry utility. So all those lines have started getting blurred, and that's the point we're making on boundaryless thinking. A lot of our services are now blurred, and in some ways, we're looking at it from a perspective of an outside in, from a customer, and not from our perspective of building a service line. Service lines are just to build competencies. How they get consumed will be very boundaryless in the future. So in a nutshell, all of this has led to a renewal of services. We are monetizing data on one side, and there's a whole bunch of analytics services around it. Our engineering services, which is one of our fastest growing service lines, actually has built a IoT ecosystem. And that's the new services we're talking about. There's a shift from CapEx to OpEx, we all know. Modernizing landscapes, Vishal spoke about it. It starts from a legacy landscape like mainframes, but you actually migrate that entire load into the cloud. And it cuts across from a legacy ADM practice to our cloud and infrastructure service line. Digital assurance. Many customers today don't buy testing services as a standalone center of excellence because application development is actually very agile. And it comes in a packet which is integrated with testing services. So how do you create digital assurance? So we've kind of modernized all of this. These are all examples. I spoke about industry utilities, our BPO service line. Vishal spoke about it. The traditional BPO, in many ways, is not the future of business process outsourcing. It will come with layers of analytics. It will come with layers of forecasting. It will come with business process bundled with infrastructure, digitization of the process and applications, and it will come in a very different avatar. That's the renewal we're talking about. So this is the world, this is the new world of services which Infosys is embracing with our clients. So in summary, the three pillars on which we have driven our renewal is the renewal of culture. That's the core on which we have actually driven our entire story. The power of automation and boundaryless thinking. Thank you. So what I'm going to do now is to invite Sandeep to speak about some of our new services.